For the first time in decades, Seattle has a sleek new substation. But what does a substation do?
The substation serves to provide safe transmission of that power.
We were proud to be able to have been given the chance to prove ourselves.
Meet some of the women who broke barriers at Seattle City Light, working the lines, same as men. And long ago, it powered the city's streetcars. Now it's a popular stop in Seattle's South End. These stories and more, next on CityStream. I'm Dennis Bounds, and welcome to CityStream from the Denny Substation. Metal-clad and modern, this looks more like a stealth fighter than a substation. It's designed to transform and distribute electricity to the city's bustling South Lake Union area, Denny Triangle, and beyond. And soon it'll also serve as a neighborhood gathering spot with a dog park, pedestrian walkway, and community event space. Much more on that in a bit. Crews are putting the finishing touches on this project, Seattle City Light's first new substation in 30 years. What's its purpose? Why is it needed? And how do Seattleites get their electricity? We'll answer those questions after we discuss this project's eye-catching design. This probably comes to mind when you think of a substation. Not this. The unique metal design grabs your attention. Inside, it has the same collection of electrons, protons, and neutrons as any other substation. But how is the energy utilized?
We started planning on this project back in 2003. It will not be your grandfather's substation.
Michael Clark knows this project well. The first question to him, what does a substation do?
Easiest way I could describe it for somebody, everyone has a cell phone and everybody gets a charger with that cell phone. And usually, like an iPhone, I have an iPhone and there's a cube, and that's a transformer. That in itself is a substation. And I plug it into the wall, and it takes the voltage from the wall, it steps it down to the lower voltage that my cell phone needs to charge and operate on.
That simplifies things. Substations take the power surging in from high voltage lines and convert the flow to a manageable level. So, when a City Light customer flips a switch, instantaneously, an electrical charge powers a lamp, producing the glow that lights an entire city each night. But let's back up a step. How are substations energized? How do Seattle residents get their power?
Well, for Seattle City Light, primarily we generate our power from hydro resources. We, of course, own our dams up on the Skagit River.
That includes Ross Dam, named after City Light's first superintendent, J.D. Ross, Diablo Dam, and lesser-known Gorge Dam.
And over in Boundary.
He's referring to Boundary Dam, way up in northeastern Washington along the Canadian border. The hydropower from those 4 dams provides City Light half the electricity its customers need. That fast-moving flow of water spins turbines that produce electricity. From there, it's increased to higher voltages.
From the generators, the power is transmitted through very high capacity, high voltage transmission lines that bring it from the generation source down to the city and will come into a substation much like Denny.
Some high voltage lines carry 500,000 volts. Compare that to your average electrical outlet at just 120 volts.
The lines coming into Denny right now will be 115,000 volts. They will get reduced down to 13,000 volts for the circuits out in the street. And at the vaults from there, the transformers would then reduce it down to the voltages that the buildings require for their operation. And the substation serves to provide safe transmission of that power.
But even with all the electricity surging into this substation, it'll produce some of its own power.
We're looking to improve the sustainability aspect of the facility as much as possible. We do have some solar installation along the north perimeter.
Heat recovery will also contribute.
Heat is generated in any transmission or transformation of power. So when the circuits are loaded and there's a lot of circuit flow, there will be heat generated. We're recovering that heat from the switchgear room and then piping it into the facilities. At full capacity of the substation, we're hoping that it will potentially make our community spaces net energy zero.
The Denny Substation will provide enough electricity to power 2 SeaTac airports. If you'd like to learn more, go to seattle.gov and search for Denny Substation Project. They waged a courageous battle, proving they could do a job solely held by men. Women working the lines at City Light as CityStream continues. Towering 10 stories above the Denny Substation is a special art installation called Transforest. One of its creators, of Lead Pencil Studio, explains how this came about.
Transforest is a piece about a kind of a Seattle City Light's history and how each cities get their power and what it takes for the power to arrive at the city. What's striking is, when the dams are built, they're such an enormous, incredible construction. And of course, it's in all effort to kind of transfer the energy back to the city. And you get to see that in the form of landscape that's altered. Our view of that is, in order for us to gain something wonderful, for the light and all the energy for the city, we do have to give it back by cutting some of the trees down so the transmission towers then can make a route into the city. So in thinking about that, we created this piece called Transforest, and it's kind of like machine becoming a kind of a nature in a way.
Handling high voltage power lines is dangerous and demanding, and historically it's been work done exclusively by men. But 45 years ago, a group of pioneering women broke the barrier at Seattle City Light. And as Linda Byron reports, their fight for affirmative action and against harassment in the electrical trades still resonates today.
Of all the jobs in the world, it's one of the most dangerous.
I've seen asphalt melt, I've seen wire jump. It could go wrong really, really fast. Through that tiny, itty bitty wire, over 14,000 volts.
Working with electricity is risky enough, but doing it high in the air?
Just make sure you tell your loved ones, I love you every day.
Because it is a hazardous job.
It is.
On a bolt.
It's a job dominated by men.
Keep that leg locked.
Erica Belsby is the sole woman in this group of 10 recently hired for a 4-year training to become journey-level line workers at Seattle City Light.
For me, I'm fine being around the men. I'm just another one of the guys.
Her opportunity is possible because of a few women who broke barriers at City Light 45 years ago. Author Ellie Ballou documents their struggle in High Voltage Women. It was right after the Boeing bust in the early 70s.
In order to get federal dollars for major infrastructure, the city had to meet the minimum affirmative action requirements of the feds, and the feds were finally starting to enforce them. And so that meant this was going to be a poster child program for demonstrating that the city was stepping up.
City Light hired a racially diverse group of 10 women to train for electrical careers at the utility.
You have that moxie.
Among them, automotive worker Angel Aerosmith and laundry worker Megan Cornish, an English Lit grad from Cornell. It's a new day, announced Superintendent Gordon Vickery.
Practicing no discrimination regarding sex, religion, race, or any other factor.
We were entering into a career at City Light, and we could go all the way to the top.
But behind the scenes, Vickery appeared to resent the women, even wanting them to fail, cutting training after a week and sending them into the field unprepared. They were isolated, one woman per crew, But they shared a common experience, unrelenting harassment.
There was a very strong mystique that this was a macho trade, and a lot of people felt threatened by women trying to do it.
The women persevered until 3 months into the program when they were suddenly fired. They sued. It took a year, but they won their jobs back with a pay raise.
We knew it was not going to be easy, but it was an adventure starting.
Looking back, this photo symbolized a naive belief that trouble was behind them.
No, actually, it was really kind of worse until we let them know that, yeah, we did win this job back because we're women. And no, you can't touch us. And we can't be fired.
Too often, the women faced male hostility, obscenities and pornography, stony silence, having tools dropped on them, nearly being thrown from a moving truck.
Looking at my body language, I'm kind of slumped and hunched shoulders. It was a stressful time.
The darkest moment came when a 21-year-old trainee, pressured by the men to work faster, fell and broke her back. 2 years later, Heidi Durham was back on the job.
They wanted to give her a secretary's job after all that. And she said, oh no, I'm going to be in the electrical trade.
They found allies.
And in particular, the black men tended to be the ones who gave a lot of support to people, gave training, gave undercover support.
Of the 10 trainees, 8 would go on to have long careers at City Light.
And we were proud to be able to have been given the chance to prove ourselves. And we did. We did it real good.
Coming on to the high side.
They stand as heroes to the high-voltage women of today.
I'm just so proud of them that they made it, and that they kept going through the tough times, because it opened up doors for people like myself.
Sherry Ryder and Shannon Fitch describe a vastly different relationship with their male counterparts.
It's like having a whole bunch of brothers that look out for you.
Still, the number of women working in the electrical trades at City Light is very small. And as recently as last year, sexual harassment complaints made headlines. In response, the mayor hired a woman to lead the utility.
I want to welcome our next CEO of City Light, Deborah Smith.
She wants a place where we can actually do good work for the people of Seattle without being distracted by internal stuff.
And that means fixing the workplace culture and increasing equity.
It's the right thing to do. It's the right time to do it. It's right for women. And I think it improves the quality of work life for everybody.
I hope that she really stands up for the women, not just because she is a woman. If she does right by her job title, she will bring a lot of changes.
If the message was that biased behavior is not going to be allowed, it wouldn't be there. Simple as that. These policies are made from the top.
It's important for the Erica Belsbys of City Light. Being the only woman on a crew is lonely. And when doing one of the world's most dangerous jobs, teamwork can determine whether you go home at the end of the day.
Through an executive order, the mayor recently created the Office of Employee Ombud. It gives city employees a confidential way to report concerns of the workplace, such as harassment and discrimination. We'll be right back. And welcome back. I'm with Phil Ambrose, who's the project manager of the Denny Substation. Thanks for being with me today.
Thanks, Dennis.
This is a project that you still have some finishing touches to put up, but it's been energized for a while, hasn't it?
That is correct. We initially energized the substation in May 2018. That's energizing the transmission lines from Broad Street Substation to Denny, and then also from East Pine to Denny Substation here. As we go forward this year, we're looking to pick up our first customers this summer on the new network.
Okay, tell us, without getting too technical for people like me, the purpose of this substation and how it relates and hooks into the network for downtown.
Well, as you know, Seattle's growing. There's an incredible amount of development. Therefore, there's a lot more increased load, especially in South Lake Union here and in the downtown core. The substation, it was built to establish that reliable network distribution system in South Lake Union. In addition, we're part of a regional transmission grid with other utilities in the area, and some of the equipment that's in the substation helps regulate that transmission throughout the region.
You could have gone the simple route and made it a regular substation, but the design is really, really dramatic. Why is that?
Thanks. Well, most substations are typically plopped in a chain link fence in the middle of nowhere, but we knew that we had to build this substation in this amazing neighborhood, the Cascade neighborhood in South Lake Union, and so we designed it accordingly, and we worked with the public in order to build something that we hope that they're proud of.
It doesn't look like a substation.
It doesn't. It looks pretty futuristic to me.
This substation desires to be fully sustainable. Tell me more about how you capture heat from the substation and the use of solar as well.
Sure. So some of the electrical equipment that's in the substation produces a fair amount of heat. That heat is actually captured and is used to heat some of the buildings within the substation, including potentially the shell space right behind us. As far as solar, we have solar panels installed on the northern wall and on portions of the southern wall, and those are also designed to help power those shell spaces behind us, which are for community involvement.
Is this the first substation in the city that's used that kind of technology?
To my knowledge, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Finally, Phil, this is in the middle of a gorgeous neighborhood. I'm assuming that they provide input to you, and if they have questions and comments, that they've gone to you about the design of this place and the way it's been constructed.
Certainly. So since 2012, we've had a lot of public involvement in the design of this project. We wanted to ensure that we received that information from the public and incorporated it into the design, so that when we finally construct it, that it is a landmark for the neighborhood and something that they can take pride in.
It doesn't look like an electrical substation.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It looks like something altogether different.
Thank you. Phil Ambrose, project manager of the Denny Substation. And we'll be right back. Next on CityStream, tour a living legacy which helped usher in the electrification of Seattle. And we're back from the Denny Substation, Seattle City Light's latest showcase of technology and modern design. More than a century ago, the utility unveiled another state-of-the-art plant that used steam to power the city's streetcars. As Brian Callanan reports, the Georgetown steam plant remains a popular attraction.
The place is gritty, grungy, and grimy. So why have 300 people shown up to look at it?
That's pretty cool. You don't see this kind of stuff every day.
It's a perfect place for a Frankenstein movie.
It's the Georgetown Steam Plant, a boiling hot blast from Seattle's past.
You see how this connected on the back like that?
And there's all these different places in here to explore. It's just an amazing space. And besides that, it's an incredible piece of Seattle history.
The Seattle Electric Company built the steam plant in 1906, mostly to power its streetcar system.
The Seattle we know of the different neighborhoods with the central downtown core was made possible by the electric streetcar system that was here in the early part of the 20th century, and the steam plant played an essential role in providing power for that system.
But the plant's usefulness was short-lived. Just a decade after these turbines were first fired, steam power was getting short-circuited by a cheaper source of electricity, hydropower. And over the years, the facility that had ignited a city's growth became just a hot backdrop for a dance video, band concert, or zombie movie. But you can't keep a good plant down.
I'm just amazed how preserved it is.
The Georgetown Steam Plant is firing up. A lot of excitement.
Back in the days this place was built, a gauge was almost a work of art.
Now that Seattle City Light, the owner of the plant, has opened it back up for tours.
So we're standing in the real heart of the building, the engine room. It's basically an open house and people are free to come in and walk around, and there's volunteers here to answer questions.
So we have 2 vertical turbo generators.
We take you through the building, we tell you about the history, we tell you about the equipment in here.
The spark plug is what makes the explosion.
We have one group of guys who are here all the time. They're guys who make these miniature replicas of old steam engines and put them on display here. It kind of adds a really cool sound to the building because you hear the little engine spinning and firing. It's really cool.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Instead of building this out of structural steel, they decided to build it out of reinforced concrete.
Mike Aronowitz is a senior environmental analyst at City Light. He volunteers his time to give tours here.
I just love history, but then the more and more that I see other people engage and interact with the building, their eyes light up and they ask questions.
The steam turbine is the silver unit.
It's just great, like meeting people who are interested in the building.
I think it's really cool about how everything works. I took 44 pictures of the whole place.
It's lucky for these visitors there's a steam plant here at all. It just barely escaped the wrecking ball.
So after the building was decommissioned in the 1970s, there was talk about demolishing the building, but we discovered the significance of the building. In particular, we had the last 2 operating examples of Curtiss steam turbines, and that helped save the building.
In fact, the Georgetown Steam Plant is now a National Historic Landmark.
It's interesting to see all this actual physical presence instead of all the computer and little chips, and it's very intriguing, and we should preserve it.
It's important to recognize where we came from and how we got to where we are today. And it also has significance for the future.
It's called a side plate.
It's a place that brings people together to share it, and that's really important for building a civic community.
The electricity the Georgetown Steam Plant generated a century ago helped shape modern Seattle. Today, it's generating new memories as a time machine, taking visitors on a trip 100 years back to the city's past.
This is our heritage. This is who we are, and you're just able to step back in time. And I have a connection to this place. Yeah. I didn't even know it. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
If you'd like to visit the steam plant, tours are free and open to the public second Saturday of every month. If you'd like more information, go to georgetownsteamplant.org. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to Book Lust. I'm Nancy Pearl.
You're so sweet.
Oh, Kevin.
God love
Say
it.
it again.
Oh, you are so sweet. Dang it.
That the gateway to the world was through a book.
Art, writing, it's not something that you choose to do. It's something that happens in spite of yourself.
Made my day, Nancy Pearl. Join me on Thursdays at 8:30 for Book Lust on the Seattle Channel.
And that wraps up this episode of CityStream from the Denny Substation. The project is in its final stages. If you'd like to learn more, go to seattle.gov and search Denny Substation Project. I'm Dennis Bounds. Thanks for watching.